Connection.
There you go.
Sorry, yeah.
Is this our special meeting? Yeah.
Hi, Carl. I'm
I put a date on this.
I'm winning.
Candy you gave something behind.
Oh, you did?
I'm gaining.
Good. See if I can make it through my whole term.
You know, there is no expiration date on that candy, you know.
Is that right? Burgers.
Yeah. It'll be in a landfill forever.
Oh my God, that's so
Yeah. There. Rather haunting. Did you talk to the lady Jan?
Sam? When it says return folder to Sam, does that include the contents or just
You
the
said you
folder?
might stop over at
Okay, yeah.
the restaurant.
I was just trying to make sure I understood.
One of the gals that Jan
Yeah.
All right.
That's part of that.
I'm not sure I know that I did.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our council meeting. I ask that you please join me as we stand for a moment of silence, and we'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could I have roll call, please?
Brad Hand,
Here.
Tom Eggers,
Here.
Pete Hamel,
Here.
Chantal Ostro, here, Jeff Wagner.
All right, then I'd like to open the public hearing on the property tax levy. Any public comments at this time?
Marv Van Riesen from Sheldon. Yeah, I'm here, we're talking about the levy. I was just talking to a couple of you earlier. They have this whole thing messed up. They probably should have a hearing on the budget first and then this, but the state has it. So they do this first instead of that's just the way it is, so we have to do it that way, I guess. I'd much rather have to do it the other way. That way you know what you have to cut or whatever. But anyhow, I do oppose the increase, the levy, for several different reasons. Number one, when you look at the overall budget, how much money you've taken in the last good number of years with the assessments going up, it's been tremendous. You have plenty of money coming in. And I think what we virtually have to do is more or less watch the spending. I believe it didn't sound like much, but talking to Sam, was it bringing 130 some thousand? Is that correct? Is that the amount of money that this, if we raise the levy by that much, I think you told me in the phone that it would be 130 some thousand, something like that. Is that right? Is that about right?
I have to look.
Okay, well, that's pretty close, but anyhow, it brings us a fancy more money. I don't believe we need any more money. We just got to watch how much, what we spend or what we have. And I believe is what to do is probably bring the levy up to the max. Am I correct on that? Does that bring the levy up to the max?
If you don't mind, if we could just get all the questions out there, and I'll try it. I'll try to look them up. And
Okay, well, nevertheless, the whole idea of it is try to reduce the levy. When you look at the sales tax we have and so forth, that's what we were told years ago. Eventually, if you pass the sales tax, our levy was going to go down. Now, obviously, that hasn't happened. And I think if we do that, I think we could watch our money, our expenditures. I think we could bring it down. Now, we won't be here talking about the budget tonight. That's the 15th. So I suppose we can talk about this, about possible cuts in, which I have several I could list that's going to be substantial. I think you could save a lot of money. I mean, a lot of money. It's just time. We got to start somewhere and start cutting because we just can't keep raising these taxes. When you look at senior citizens, I mean, when they're getting their percentage increase, they're not getting these 3, 4, 7% increases. And then Medicare is eating up what they do get increased. So I'd encourage the council just not to raise the levy at all and wait till after the budget hearing. And then you can always even reduce it further yet. You have to. Can't raise it, but you can certainly lower it, what I found out. So I want to thank you for your time, and that's all I have for right now. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Yes, my name is Carl Dreifeld from Sheldon, and I just want to kind of confirm a couple things Mr. Van Riesen said. And my main purpose in saying anything today is I want to encourage the council to try to curtail increases as much as possible this coming year. Because as a senior citizen, we received a 2.4% increase in Social Security this year, but that's not the net we get because of increased Medicare costs. And I think that kind of an increase kind of goes along with a lot of other people that are still working and everything that get less increases this year. And with 6%, a little over 6% proposed, from what I see and what we received in the mail, increases for the city this year, I think that's a pretty big spread. That's going to be hard to take for a lot of people. So my only concern is, or request is, to please try to curtail increases as much as you can in this year and hopefully be able to set off some things till a future year before you have to go into that. Thank you.
Anything else? Anybody else, I should say? Okay.
Can I try to answer those questions?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. So one of the questions asked was regarding the increase of the number that was mentioned was $130,000. That is correct. If you look at the hearing notice that is that is linked to the agenda, not the hearing notice for the 15th, but the hearing notice for today, the starting number is $2,225,616 for total city property tax, and that number would be going up to $2,365,263. If I could also add to that with another comment, Angie and I spoke with Iowa Department of Management again on the 30th. There has been confusion created by the form and the notice. The city's taxable growth for the upcoming fiscal year, taxable growth is 7.26%, but it is capped in state code to a revenue growth of 4.14%. This is a reduction of $38,774 in revenues from what would have been generated prior to the state imposed cap. This also does not mean that your property taxes are going up by 4.14%. There is a link that's on the agenda in that memo that I just cited for the property tax estimator. Angie and I, we didn't have the school information or the county information, but we plugged in what was the approximate value of the building. It was $1.2 million.
I think it was 1.7.
$1.7 million building, and the approximate increase was about 1% in taxation after rollback. So I apologize in advance for the confusion that's been generated by the forms. There is consensus. There hasn't been a lot of consensus in the legislature this year, but there is consensus on one thing, and that is the form is confusing, and there's an example attached on what it will hopefully look like next year, and it'll be easier to read. So there are the points that are raised are appreciated about overall spending. I will note that when I first came to town 7 years ago, our insurance premium was approximately $118,000 for ICAP, for property casualty, and it is now approximately 3 times that, at least. So, and part of that's inflation, part of that's increased growth, and that's one example, but overall, we have held the line this year, and the increase is less than 5 cents per 1,000 in valuation for the city portion.
Are there any comments, any other comments from the council at this time?
I do have one question.
Step up to the mic, please.
I do have one question about insurance. When you quote those insurance rates, have you gone out, got bids on all that insurance,
If I might.
and looked at all insurance, see what you could possibly cut down and so forth to keep the cost down?
Go ahead.
There's really 2 main providers for cities for property casualty, and that's EMC and ICAP, Iowa Community Assurance Pool. And we've been part of ICAP since at least 1995. And so we have been looking at a number, Todd and I have been going through the premiums and trying to identify some areas where we can cut. The issue isn't so much ICAP, it's the reinsurance through St. Paul Travelers. And so that's one of the issues with the cost. We now have replacement costs in a number of items that we didn't have replacement costs before, so that does add to the premium, but it reduces our risk. So but that's something that we're continuing to go through. So I appreciate the question.
Sam, question just for clarity. So we got about a 1% roll, when it's all said and done, it's about a 1% increase, right?
Right.
And the legislature's talking about their 2% cap. And then we talked about a 4.14%. So how does that 2%, 4%, 1%, they seem to all be referring to different things. Can you give me any clarity on how that would work if it would have been a 2% this year instead?
It would be worse because the cap that's being talked about in the legislature would be a cap that would include growth. So if growth is exempted from the cap, then that means that new construction coming online, not an increase in valuation, but like the new apartments out on the east side of town, pretending those had come online for the first time, that wouldn't contribute to our cap, but under the proposed legislation, it does. And that's one of the things that cities and the League of Cities have been concerned about, is adding more infrastructure, adding more buildings, and adding more demand for services. So
would the 4.14, would that have been 2% then?
I believe so.
Okay.
But I'd have to double check that.
Let me know. I just
Yeah.
trying to get clarity going forward in the future years
Yeah.
of how that's compared to.
Currently that, if I'm, currently that number would be 2% by 2029. And the proposed legislation makes it sooner and includes, and doesn't exempt growth, and that's part of the concern.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? It is 4:30, so then I would take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Support.
Roll call, please.
Eggers.
Aye.
Hamel.
Aye.
Ostrov. Aye. Wagner.
Aye.
Kent.
Aye.
So then we roll over into our normal.
Sam, don't we have to adjourn this? We gotta take a break. Yeah, we have to formally adjourn. Okay.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Good. All right.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
Hamel.
Aye.
Ostrov. Aye. Wagner.
Aye.
Kent.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
Now they are officially adjourned. Let's reopen with our special council meeting.
Regular council meeting.
Regular council meeting, yes. We've already done the moment of silence and the pledge of allegiance, and roll call is complete, so we're going to roll right into the first item on the agenda. Here we go. Is the approval of the agenda. Let's take a motion for that.
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Wagner.
Aye.
Ostrov. Aye. Hamel.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
Kent.
Aye.
All right, then the next part of our meeting is our public forum. Is there anyone wishing to address the council at this time? Nothing, so moving on then to the consent agenda. Take a motion to approve that.
So move.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Ostrov. Aye. Hamel.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
Kent.
Aye.
Wagner.
Under old business, the first item up is the recycling.
I have one question.
Yes.
The Thorman Avenue and NCC's lift stations, that's all been ironed out and all the issues have been resolved with that contractor?
Yes, it's been settled with the agreements. I would say there's some remaining wrinkles. It hasn't been an entirely smooth set of projects, but this is the settlement that's been reached.
Okay, that's why I'm asking, because that hasn't been a good project.
Can you give some clarity to what you mean by wrinkles and agreements? And I'm not sure I'm up to speed what you're talking about.
Well, there was some issues with the timelines. There was issues with quality of the work. There were a number of issues that Todd, you, our Public Works Director, and our team had raised that needed to be addressed. The matters dragged on for quite a while, and we believe that the issues have been resolved to a large extent, enough that the project can be closed.
So is there any monetary resolution there, or was it just handshakes, or what do you mean by resolution?
Yeah, basically final payment was authorized, and we could, it might be better to reconsider and continue the item if there's a concern, because I'm not knowledgeable enough to wing it. There were a number of issues, and with the project. We believe that they've been resolved to an extent enough that the project can be closed out, but the Public Works Department and I there were a fair number of concerns with the overall issue. So we had to decide whether to continue on with a dispute that we probably could drag on for some time, or settle the matter and move on. So
I'd just like some background on it in the future meeting. I don't know that I'll support whatever you've done. I just think that there's been a lot of talk in the community about that project, and I just think that clarity for everybody's sake would be good, just on what happened or didn't happen and how it was resolved.
yeah, there's certainly no harm in the, I know you've just voted on the consent calendar, but there's certainly no harm in reconsidering the matter and continuing it so Todd can be here. We thought it'd be okay to have it on consent, so they're very worthy questions. It's easier to answer them when you haven't acted on the item than later. It's your
I'm
call.
just one voice, so it depends what everybody else thinks.
Yeah, I just had the question and it got ahead of, the agenda got ahead of me. So, sorry for bringing it up late,
No, that's okay.
So,
but I think it's a valid question with the issues they've had with that project.
Might be worth asking Todd to add it to his report next meeting.
Sure. Do you feel comfortable with having approved the item? It doesn't,
yeah, because we're in a little bit of a pickle here right now, because the consent agenda is,
We approved it, so
we've got a resolution that we have approved.
I have no problem approving it. I just want some background on what happened and how we resolved it. That's all I'm asking for. I'll support the decision of the staff, but
I think he'll be able to supply that through report next meeting.
All right, we'll handle it that way. Moving on then to the discussion regarding the third reading for the recycling under old business there. Any information you'd like to add regarding that, Sam, at this point?
yeah, I'll make a comment if that's okay. So, just yesterday, I received the draft, or the day before, I received the draft contract amendment, and it hasn't been discussed with, I sent it to all of you at the same time, including to the Gertlers. So that's the third item, so maybe I'll just talk about that briefly because that feeds into the other two. So you can pass third reading now, but if both ordinances now if you'd like, or you can wait until May. I understand the effective date is desired by Gertlers is July 1 by Dick Reif. So there really isn't a rush to approve third reading. So my suggestion is to maximize public input. One of the things you could do is set a hearing for May 6th on third readings of both ordinances and the draft contract amendment. A hearing is not required legally, but we have done that in cases of matters of great importance, which this is, and that gives another opportunity for additional comment. So,
well, my understanding is that the gentleman that was here last week, now I'm at a loss for,
Merlin Vanderlee.
Mark went and met with him and they got a resolution. He got 2 cans that fits and he's happy as a lark on the outcome on that. Mark was going to bring 3 cans to Brad's store,
We're working on details of that.
details, so that people can go and see the samples of the different cans. And we originally talked about it at city office, but then we'd have nights and weekends where Monday nights and weekends, people could actually go and see it and not have to come up the steps. So he was going to bring those to that. He says he's got about 10 cans a week going out right now, every week delivering 10 cans. The delay to July was just the delay in order to get the supply of cans that he needs. He's got some right now and he's got more in order. So I think we're on track for that. I'm not really sure why we need to have a public hearing. I've not heard anything negative about it from anybody other than it's about time we get something done. And I'm not blaming the council for that. It's more just as a community, they wanted to do something, but we're really sure. So I would just as soon be done with it and move forward if we could. It seems like we got consensus.
And I think we got 2 different things here. We have recycling cans and we have contract. They're totally different items. So I also agree to get the recycling done and behind us and then worry about the contract. So I would entertain the motion to approve the third reading of the illegal dumping and also the third reading of the recycling amendment.
Let's support that.
So basically, you're saying items 1 and 2 under that subpoint A.
Correct.
Okay.
Because the contract amendment is a whole different item.
Okay.
Yes, it deals with recycling, but it's different.
All right, so we have a motion and support for approving subpoint 1 under A and subpoint 2 under A recycling, and the third read, as part of the third reading. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Hamel.
I have a question, I'm sorry. Does that have a date in it? Start date? Or is that part, I mean, it's July 1st. Just as he gets enough, or when is this a start? He says he'll have enough by July 1st, so he'd like it to start July 1st. Okay. I know his contract does. Very good.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Hamel.
Aye.
Ostra. Aye. Wagner.
Aye.
Hint.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
And so to Sam's point earlier, suggestion of setting a hearing for May 6th for the ordinances under the subpoint 3. Is that something we want to do?
Just for the contract amendment.
Okay.
You wouldn't need a hearing of the
Okay.
ordinance.
Okay, yeah.
No.
Do we have any need? I mean, the contract comes up in August, right?
Well, there's two contract amendments. There was, to Brad's point, that the one in August, and then you got the contract amendment, which ties a little bit more into the two ordinance changes that you just made. So, I don't know that I really need a public hearing per se. It could just be on the May 6th agenda by then.
So do we, if we have an ordinance change, then we have to change the contract? Which one supersedes the other?
They're tied together. The second contract change regarding the 10-cent increase that they're asking for and the 25-cent increase that's already in the contract, that would be another contract amendment effective August 1. That would be considered.
So what contract are we discussing now then?
We're discussing a contract amendment that implements the recycling changes that you've asked for. And this is the first review that you've seen this, because I just received it the other day. So this is an opportunity to simply provide feedback on that. Gertlers haven't seen it either. I sent it to all of you at the same time yesterday.
When I talked to Mark, he said he didn't have any problem with it, but I'm not sure what it is, which version.
Yeah. It's the draft First Amendment.
Well, I understand that. I'm just, when he said the problem with it, I'm not sure what he was referring to as it.
Got it.
But we've gone through around this often enough, I think. What do we do to get it done?
So Sam, let me ask a question. We have a signed MOU in place. Do we need to make the contract change prior to any conversation about rate increases? Can we combine that? The MOU, if I
Yeah,
understand
I'm
it
thinking
correctly,
about
is a
the question.
binding
A
document.
great question. I know that the idea behind the MOU was to make the first contract amendment very simple. As far as I
Correct.
see where you're going with the question, I'd have to get back to you on that, Tom. That's a great question.
I would like to get clarification on that because I'd like to handle the contract in one action if possible, instead of trying to update it 2 different times. So.
And he's going to pick up recycling it's not like he's going to stop picking up recycling for the month of July. He's got to pick it up anyway, so
Right. So
if we have a month of limbo.
So I'd ask
Yeah,
Sam to get some clarification on it.
All right. My suggestion would be that we table this until our next meeting, give it more time to take shape, and everybody's all right with that. We'll just do that.
Thinking May 6th, if you don't mind.
Okay, May 6th is fine with me too. So a month, a little over a month from now. Any objections to that? Okay. All right, let's move on then to item B, the resolution approving a new agreement with Center Benefits for HR services. Any questions on that?
I have a question as I read it, and maybe I have a different interpretation of this because I wear two hats here. All services must be requested by the city manager or the city clerk for either of these employees, or by mayor or the council or city attorney, or at least two council members. So if the employees or department heads have issues, they have to go to the city manager or clerk before we can go talk to HR.
I guess the second half of that question is, or as an employee, do I have to go ask my boss if I can talk to HR before I can talk to HR, which just seems a little
Yeah,
odd.
it's in agreement under line item scope of services.
I had asked the same question of council, and he stated that that is not the case. That employee can go directly to HR without having to seek approval of a request.
There's been a lot of talk in the community about having an HR person, which I do support, but a lot of questioning of the amount of money we're spending there. At the last meeting, we had discussed maybe talking about our expectations of what we wanted out of HR. And I'm still not real clear on that. What it is we're spending, what, $50,000 for. That's a lot of money.
Are you talking about an actual expenditure of 50,000 or what we've budgeted? I believe it's what we budgeted. So
Correct.
therefore, it's not a true expenditure yet. It's just a budget line item.
Well, my expectation is if we budgeted it, we expected to spend it. That's why I was asking the question.
It was my intent with that figure to have a representative amount that we feel we could effectively allow the HR competency within our city government to work and yet keep the costs down. So
I'm not against
it's just
it.
like any budget item.
Okay. I just don't really understand what we're getting.
So have you had an opportunity to talk to Center Benefits at all, Jeff?
I read the contract. I'm not allowed to talk to them.
Oh, okay. You're not allowed to talk to them?
That's what it says. I have to go to city manager.
I don't believe that's the case, Jeff. You can talk to them. So,
And I think there also needs to be some clarity of how the HR is going to work if an employee, staff member has issues. How does that flow? Does it flow to city manager, mayor, council?
Well, it looks to me like
To me, it goes through.
it's
the
an
city
either
manager.
or. Either the city manager, the city clerk, or by the mayor or the city attorney, or at least two council members.
So I don't think if an employee has an issue, they're not going to go through all those steps. They're just going to walk away and leave it status quo.
I understand why they have some limitations there. If they feel that strongly about it, surely they know two people on this council that could help them out with that. Otherwise, it's a blank check.
So Angie, you and Todd were able to review this contract that's before us today. What is your opinion of the question at hand in regards to employees being able to freely go to HR without having to go through Sam or through the council?
I think there needs to be some kind of structure because there does need to be a limit, I guess I would say. However, I don't want to be the person that has to decide whether that warrants HR action or not. I know you asked me with a previous HR problem what that looked like, and I said, I think I would have been the HR person and I wouldn't have known what to do in that issue. So that's where we started to get the HR involved. I think it's kind of, I think Brandy would let me know if there's someone that is abusing their services as well. And we can kind of see that through the billing breakdowns as we get detail. Somewhat detail. I wouldn't say a lot of detail, but.
And my understanding also was that any employee could go to HR to start with, and they would be given direction on how to proceed if they needed to discuss something with a manager or whatever. But my understanding was they could go directly to HR.
And isn't that what you said earlier in your discussion? You said you talked to counsel. I'm assuming that was Micah?
Correct.
And that's what he said as well?
Correct.
Okay.
I guess I'm curious on, we've got all these great job descriptions now. So is HR going to be involved in employee reviews, reviewing employee reviews? What are we doing with this information now? And that, I guess that's where I'm questioning what HR role is and how that's going to work going forward and how we're going to manage with that information.
So an original discussion, yes, that was what the plan was going forward, was so that we would have a little more continuity, I guess would be a good word, in how evaluations are done and that sort of thing.
And that's probably even more important now that all of our employees are non-union. So it'd even be a larger stroke of our overall workforce that could benefit from that. So.
I think it's a great move. I just would like some clarity on what we're doing and maybe some interaction on goals or whatever they're providing for each quarter as we move forward and what's happened.
And I think they would be open to any suggestions that we would have as well. So, and I do know like wage study is something that is currently being looked at. So that's one thing also.
How do you know there's a wage study being done and I don't know there's a wage study being done currently?
If I ask questions.
I think HR is good. I just think we need to define how it's going to work. So employees know that they're safeguarded when they go talk to HR.
That's correct. That's an important
And
element.
to this, I do not feel that that is safeguard to our employees and staff, elected officials, volunteers. And then also, you know, if there's an issue, how's that going to play out? Who knows what the issue and how it was handled?
So is there a direction that you would like to see it go, Brad?
I would like to see more definition of how the structure is going to work. Yes, an employee can go talk to HR. And then if there's an issue, how are we going to address it? And if it's key management or department heads, how's that going to get? So we know if XYZ employee comes to us and how's that handled? And we can say, yes, we know it was handled. Or no, we don't know what was
Meaning
handled.
us as council?
Council,
or-
yes.
okay.
I think the question that I asked has been answered, or my concern has been answered, and that's that I don't know what they're doing. I asked about the salaries, and I didn't ask a question on it, so I didn't know that they're doing a salary review. we need to communicate better in the council meeting and not all this one-off conversations that are on the side, so we're not all on the same page. I'm not blaming you at all when I say that. I'm just saying that
So I just want to clarify that though. That goes back to original discussions with HR and what we wanted them to do. And so I had just asked how that was coming along. Correct, Tom? That was one of the
That's
points that
correct.
we raised when we were originally looking into an HR firm to work with.
well, they did the wage study, or they did some things on the 2% and 4% or 4% and 6%. So clarity is, but I'm ready to move on and we can talk about this at another meeting.
In reference to your other point, additionally, the consultant must provide a report to the city council of the city on a quarterly basis. The report may be delivered orally at a duly authorized council meeting or in written form at the city's discretion. So they are required to give quarterly reports. The quarterly report must identify and summarize the services performed by the consultant during the preceding quarter, that provide insight into the known and reasonably identified operation or employee-related concerns affecting the city, and to include the consultant's professional guidance, recommendations, or suggested improvements to the city's operations based on the services performed and observations made during the preceding quarter. So I don't know what we'd want to add to that, but they are required to give a quarterly report. As far as I don't know how we, in the scope of services, it's pretty generic, I agree. I don't know specifically how we address each and everything that we're going to come up with. Something specific that you're thinking of?
Nope, I think if an employee wants to go talk to HR, I don't think they need to go through the city manager or the city clerk or the city council. I think they should be able to go voice their concerns to HR. And to this contract, it says services must be requested by.
Well, I think
So that's why,
It also says, and subject to the council's approval by the city council, which approval will not be unreasonably withheld. Notwithstanding the foregoing, the consultant may commence performance of requested services prior to receiving formal approval from the city council, providing the services have been requested by one or more authorized representatives as said above. The services do not involve actions that would reasonably expected to have in the short term material, financial, legal, operation, or policy impact on the city. It goes on for a ways, but do you just let anybody go as often as they want and just let it flow?
I think that's what HR is for. If an employee has issues, they should be able to address those issues with HR on a personal level.
Well, and I think part of the reason for getting an HR consultant was so that we as council members didn't have staff having to come to us all the time, that they had one person that they could go to if there were concerns or whatever. So,
And I don't think the employees are going to abuse it, but I think if they have issues, they are going to want to go right to HR and not go through the hoops.
so do you want clarity on that from this agreement before we move forward?
I do personally,
Okay.
but the other four of you, if you want to vote it through, go right ahead, because right now I'll vote against it because there's not enough clarity for the employees, staff members, department heads.
Well, then basically we can just take that scope of services thing and just leave it at the first paragraph and eliminate everything else. I'm not sure I like that, but I understand.
Did Mike and draft?
I just want it to be beneficial to the employees.
So can we table it and just get clarification on that? Or do we need to?
I think that would be wise, and I think if we have Micah here, because Micah is the one that drafted this, and we're hearing that they can go, I would like to hear his explanation as well, how that works.
I really don't care what Micah has to say. I want to know what she has to say, what we can expect from her that the contract's reflecting to. You know, we're micromanaging a contract as opposed to defining what our vision is for employee
So,
HR position. And that's what I'm looking for. Pete, you were right. You said that she would provide they'd provide a contract quarterly. I've been at 4 months meetings and I've not seen a report yet. So I think this is a very, very important thing we're doing here. And I think I'm excited about it. I just want to make sure we know what we're getting.
so
That we're
in,
getting it.
under number 1 of the agreement, not including the discussion about requests through the city manager, but the
Scope of services?
but the scope of services in the first paragraph. It lines, these services include, but are not limited to, policy development and review, employee relations, union negotiations, assistance with hiring, retirements, and dismissals of employees, recruitment and staffing, training and development, and assistance with compensation and benefits programs. Is there any ambiguity in that, Jeff? Or I think that spells out pretty well what we expect HR to do.
First of all, I want to say that was not a statement against Micah when I said that. I've got the greatest respect. I was not slamming him. On the rest of it, I give up. Let's just pass it and be done with it, and we'll next year review and say, did we get what we asked for? Because we're circling and not getting anywhere on this. So let's move forward.
Well, I would like an answer to my question, Jeff. You had asked the question, you wanted to know what they're specifically going to do. I read what the contract states. Is there any ambiguity in that you don't understand?
Obviously there is, otherwise I wouldn't be asking questions, but we're not on the same page. And so I will defer to your expertise in saying that there isn't. So let's accept it.
So we have 2 different schools of thought is what I'm hearing. One is to table it and have an explanation, a better explanation of paragraph 2 under the agreement of subpoint 1. The other is to pass it. And I don't have a motion at this point for either one. We have it on the floor, I guess, to approve it as is. Correct?
We do not.
Okay, we do not have a motion at this point, so we can approve it as is. I need a motion for that, or we can have a motion to table it and have further discussion at our next meeting.
I'll make a motion to prove it as is.
Is there support for that?
I'll second that with the caveat that we should have council and center benefits here at the next meeting for extra clarification on the second paragraph.
So can we revise if needed then? If we have them here and their clarity is not exactly what we had in mind.
Or we could just table it till then too.
So,
Okay, so we have a motion. We have.
I'm not sure I'm seconding it there. I might withdraw.
You want to
my
withdraw your
second on
second, is that what you're saying?
At this point.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'm sorry, you are withdrawing your?
I am at this point.
Okay.
I'd like to hear what Councilman Ostra has to say.
So we have a motion. Do we have a support for that?
Can I hear the motion again?
The motion is to approve it as it stands. Correct, Jeff?
Correct.
Not hearing it, I'd say the motion fails. Do we have an alternate motion?
okay, so I would like to make a motion that we table it until the next meeting so that we can, number 1, gain clarity. If we can have both parties here, meaning Micah and Center Benefits, to provide clarity. And I also am wondering if we can get the original RFP linked so that all council members are aware of what was requested of HR consultants to begin with. Okay,
Now, that's your motion.
that is my motion.
Do we have a support for that motion?
I'll support that motion.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Hamel.
Aye.
Ostra.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Hint.
Aye.
Eggers,
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. Then we move on to new business. The first point there is authorization of Sheldon Christian Schools request for no parking on the east side of Garfield Avenue on school days, submitted by Brett Vanderveen, who is with us today. Any comments you'd like to make, Brett?
Good afternoon. Yeah, the reason for this request is congestion, mainly in the afternoon pickup time. And it really has more to do with the parents parking there, not the neighbors parking there. We run out of room on that side, and then people park there, and it just makes a big time even more dangerous. So we would like approval to get a couple signs there on the east side of the road, just like we have on the south side of school, East 9th Street. So I have talked to the neighbors on the east side. This affects 2 neighbors on the east side of Garfield there, and both of them have said that they're okay with that happening. I think one of them maybe parks there one day a week, and we've opened our parking lot to the north of his house if he needs it. So I don't think there's any concerns from the neighbors, and I think that would be a good thing for preventing accidents of vehicles and especially kids.
Okay, so I'm reading this, it would just be from 8 to 3:30 during school days?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions for Brett?
What time?
8:30 to 3:30.
8 to 4?
3:30. 8 to what?
8 to 3:30.
Yeah.
8 to 3:30.
Okay.
I'd entertain a motion to approve the no parking on the east side of the Garfield as presented.
Support.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Wagner.
Aye.
Hint.
Thanks, Brett.
Aye.
Eggers,
Aye.
Hamel,
Aye.
Ostra. Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Brett.
Item B, consider request for transit peddler permit waivers for the outdoor vendor fair by Bliss Salon and Spa. The Maynards are also with us. Any comment either one of you would like to make at this time? Please come forward if you're going to.
I just mainly want to say last year was a good event, minus the wind and the heat. And so I would just like it if we could continue this again and for continuing years.
Okay. Any questions for Sarah?
So are you requesting this to be perpetual?
It would be nice if we could do that, yes.
I think the motion that's ahead of us is for 1 year, correct?
When they came last year, we asked for it continual last year. And then they said for it to be continued from years after. They asked me to come back again this year. And I was just probably under the assumption that it was for the continual years.
Okay, thank
But if you need me to do it again next year, I understand.
What does our peddler permit say now? What food trucks, events that take place in brew house, et cetera? Because it appears to me if we're going to say she doesn't have to, you don't have to have a permit, we might as well just throw the whole thing out and just say we're not going to have peddlers permits anymore. We're kind of setting a precedent here that I'm not for or against. I'm just saying we have to decide, and then how do we enforce it? At this point,
And I have one other comment. I feel like we need to clarify the difference between a peddler and a vendor fair. A peddler is someone who probably goes house to house selling their supplies, where vendors, you come to me, we're not going to you.
Yeah, it actually is entitled a transient merchant
Okay.
as well as a peddler
Sure.
permit, so I
So yeah, I
think
don't know if you need to have a separate vendor permit per se. And then my other question would be like, okay, if we would go whatever, like what dictates who can have a vendor fair and who cannot? You know, like if it's held on by the city, is that different than if it's held on by an individual or a nonprofit? I guess there's not a lot of clarifications for the vendor fair, like vendors in general.
Do you want to comment? Yeah. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So I have the code linked, and when it was updated in 2023, this was added, annual celebrations, the annual Sheldon Celebration Days under supervision of SCDC, the city's annual fireworks celebration and this is where this comes in, and other community events as directed by resolution of the council. And that is intentionally vague to allow you to make the policy decision. As far as making it in perpetuity, celebration days and some of the other events are more on fireworks are more of a predictable time frame, and so this allows for an annual policy determination. And I understand the definition of community events isn't entirely clear. Most of the other events that have been authorized on this have been run by nonprofits or by SCDC or the city. So ultimately, it's your call.
Well, I think there's also a difference between things that are indoors and outdoors as far as controlling and management of that. So back to my original question, do we want to continue? I think we have to decide whether we're going to have a peddler's permit, but in situations like this, if we don't, is there any input into traffic control and all those different things that peddler's permits maybe allow us to have? Or can I just decide I'm going to put 50 people in my front yard and rent out spaces for it on school days or something? I'm not against what you're doing. I'm just precedent is my concern on this whole thing. Or do we say that we have a fee of $500 or whatever for a specific physical location, and somebody pays it for however many they can fit on that physical property that's manageable? And we don't have to make a decision today, but I'm just throwing out the.
Well, and then my other question would be, what could be considered a vendor fair? Like, is it you have one vendor come in, you have 10, you have 50, there's a broad spectrum of how big your event is. And I feel like last year, I think I had up to 60 vendors and the road was closed. And I felt like we had no troubles with traffic because it's not like you're getting all these people at one time. I think you have a lot of people who walk. I had a lot of a lot of people came to me and said they thought it was a wonderful thing that they did. And I have reached out to other people, hoping the city would do something on their behalf during this week, because I think the city could really benefit with all these people coming into town. And I think it'd be great if you could make it a week-long event and have them staying overnight. And so even if I didn't do it, I think even if the city did it, I think it'd be a good idea. Like, I just think we're missing out on opportunities in this town.
I guess just my only comment, my only thought to that now is the city's hands are full already with managing what's going on the Rise Fest grounds.
Yep.
So
I just think, I just look at it as like, okay, you have all these people coming in. What else can we do to have them spend their money in this town is coming from my spectrum of it.
Do those vendors, do they pay the local option sales tax? Do they collect that?
They are responsible to turn in their own sales tax.
Okay.
I might. Angie, that typically goes to the town that they originate in, right?
That's correct.
So that's.
So
it
Sheldon gets no
contributes
revenue off of
another-
it. So Sheldon gets, not that it's, I'm just clarifying because he was
Yep.
talking the other way. So Sheldon gets no 1% off those sales, nor any different than Rise Fest food vendors probably would be the same case in, correct?
That is correct.
just if they're Sheldon vendors, if their address is Sheldon.
Correct. Okay.
You were going to say something?
Well, I covered it.
But another reason why you don't, like, it's important to like, yes, you want a lot of your local people too, but why it's important to get a lot of your small communities coming with this, is because if you always stick with the same 5 vendors coming to you every year, you know, people, it's not going to keep going. So that's why you almost need to have outside people to keep things fresh and new and, yeah.
So I asked earlier, do food trucks have peddler permits? Does venues that take place, if Brew House has a Christmas open house with people coming in, do they get peddler's permits at this point? How do we handle that for other things?
Unless they're a local resident or farmer who offer for sale their own products, they are required to get a permit. And several years ago, some of you might remember this, but there was a issue where a vendor from, I believe, Granville set up over on the former Sinclair parking lot, and there was concern raised by a nearby restaurant that was open at the time, and they were required to get a permit, and I asked them if they would be willing to keep the peace and move to somewhere a little bit further from the next door brick and mortar establishment, and they agreed. So there are some communities that limit that further to protect their downtowns and to protect their brick and mortar businesses. So I think the process that you have established that was discussed in 2023, it seems to work, and it's fairly simple to come forward. This is really the second year. It seems fairly simple to come forward and ask. It is the same weekend as Rise Fest, so it gives an opportunity if people have concerns with that, with traffic flow, to address that as well. So I think, and what's really being asked for too is an exemption from, having to fill out 50 different forms and pay $5,000 worth of fees. So that's also part of the request too.
On my behalf, like for the kind of vendors that I'm having, I'm just going to use like I had a lady come in and just make some home jewelry. There's no way that they're going to be able, like, I'm taking payment on my behalf because it takes me, you guys know how long it takes to get up, like, celebration days going. I mean, it takes a lot of time on my part, and then I don't work for 2 days at the salon because I'm managing the outside, just so it does flow. But these people, if they had to pay my fee and they had to pay another fee, they couldn't make it work. And that is why I'm asking also for the waiver of it. Because you have some people who make thousands, probably would take in $2,000, and you might have some that don't even have a sale.
So if I remember our conversation last year, you had brought forth a concern that $100 fee was too much per vendor,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah,
I remember that correctly.
yeah.
Since you're sponsoring an area that's on your property, what if you were to pay the $100 for that event?
I probably wouldn't go through with it. And that's why I didn't reach out to anybody yet, just because I'm already taking off 2 days of full work. And then I still have to pay the state of Iowa. So I pay for them to come in, because they have to double check the food vendors. And then the time for me to set this up, I probably have 40 hours invested at least. So it's got to be worth some of my time to do it. Otherwise, might as well cut hair for the day.
So what you're saying is $100 would be more than you'd be willing to pay for a permit to have the whole entirety of those vendors on your property for that period of time.
If I had 50 vendors come in and I would pay the city $100, that's doable. I could do something like that.
It's another way of looking at a situation where you have a privately owned land event and they're taking on the the liability, both from an insurance perspective and as well as regulatory perspective? Should we just adopt that, in this case, Bliss Salon and Spa needs to pay the city $100 for a permit to conduct this event?
Is that possible?
Sure.
And just for future, I would also wonder, like, how do you do this every time is an event? So we're more clarification on how this is done in the future, on how big and how small, because I do feel like there's more people that probably do other events, and is it fair across the board? Is it?
I think in this case, Sarah, what makes this reasonable in my mind is the fact that this is on your property.
Yeah.
It doesn't extend beyond your property.
Right.
It's your property.
Okay.
And therefore you are the authority of whatever happens on that property,
Okay.
whether it be a vendor fair or free cookies for everyone.
Sure.
So what I'm
But you're
saying,
saying in general events, it'd be like so much.
that's what I'm bringing forth for discussion.
I would suggest $200, only because I think you use two physical addresses. And so we do $100 per physical address. So if 2 or 3 people come together around town, you'd have some kind of enforcement to just say, hey, it's per address that's being utilized. And that's not trying to, I'm just looking at the not you, but the whole precedent we're setting here of providing a peddler's permit for a physical address as opposed to saying, okay, we're going to give you one and you're going to have some there and you'll have some over across the street on the north side of Highway 18. Is that another permit? Or if we have some over by City Park and another, is that another permit? Is that $100 cover everything is what I'm trying to just.
Well, and this is maybe something different too, and maybe this has nothing, maybe this is a totally different situation, but what would be the difference if I were to have a garage sale at my house and I have 2 vendors coming in to sell their stuff during my garage sale?
Because you have
And-
vendors.
Pardon me?
You're bringing in vendors. Garage sale is your own.
You're not in the business of selling garage sale on a regular basis. It's a
But the
one-time.
vendors would be in business.
That's their business, whether it's part-time or
So
full-time.
if it's on my personal
Business.
property, I could put as many vendors on my property? And my physical address, as you're saying?
No,
I
No,
think
you'd
that
still have to do a permit.
you don't need a permit.
if it's inside your garage, and then I guess I'd say you can do whatever you want to inside your garage, but once you
Outside. Okay.
outside, yeah, I think that's a
Yeah.
great question. But for the city staff to also know how to enforce it, if we're just trying to
Sure.
get this clarity.
Sure.
Where do you see a second address?
Well,
There's 2 parcels.
there's 2 parcels there.
So Bliss Salon and Spa is advertised as 2390 and Stone River Nursery, which is attached.
Well, I guess the way I feel about it is that it's been successful and thank you for having the initiative to do it. It hasn't been a problem that I'm aware of at all in the past.
If I might.
Yes.
So my recommendation, because, because of the location near a state highway and because having it on an agenda provides emergency services an opportunity to review it, and having a simple resolution, I think rather than grant a permanent exemption, just continue to do it this way.
Yeah.
And once it's established, then you put it on consent. But you are determining under the current ordinance that it's a community event. So that way, if the circumstances change or traffic patterns change, or it becomes so popular that affects other things, it's an opportunity to have a brief annual review. This didn't take Steve and Todd very long to review this. We recognize the importance of this, and this is the same weekend as another important event in town. So it's an opportunity, and it's timed that way, which is fine to say that. And so I think this is an opportunity to simply have an annual review. So now we have the process.
And you're also saying have Sarah just do the one permit that covers the whole.
Yeah.
That's,
Fair,
that's,
all the
that's
time.
your call. The way I have it now, it's $10 for everything.
Yeah, that's the way
So-
it's been.
That's the way it's set, is that's what the ordinance would approve, the resolution would approve is the $10 that she submitted, and call it good. But if you want to charge more, that's ultimately between you and her.
I would be willing to make the motion as it appears to approve the resolution.
We have support for that.
Not, as it appears, not with what Tom suggested.
You're saying for the $10 permit.
Well, that's the way it's
As it
presented.
appears.
If you guys want to change that,
Yeah.
go ahead and turn me down.
Again, we have a motion, do we have support as it appears for the one, as it appears now?
So, well, okay. I just have a question. Can I
Go
ask
ahead.
a question? So like, if Sweet Puddle Jumpers has food trucks on their property, does she get a permit every time?
I've seen a number of them come through, $10 permits. I think the issue here is it's a 2-day event, so the way the ordinance is written, it's $100 for day 2 through 5 or something like that. So, and we have an exemption in the code for local vendors.
My suggestion is we do what we did last year, let you do it for another year and come back and visit this with some recommendations, because we got food trucks now we're bringing in and precedents of.
We'll take that, but first we have a motion, we need support in order to have further discussion of this. We have a motion, do we have a support? If not, that motion does not carry. Does someone have an alternative motion?
I think in the spirit of the ordinance and our application as it's written today, I would make motion that we approve it with the stipulation that Bliss Salon and Spa would pay $100 above the $10 application fee for the event.
Okay. Do we have support for that motion?
I would support that.
So you're saying $110 would be her obligation total?
Well, $10 is the application fee. So I'm just saying.
We're 10 or 100.
Below, it says the license fee, it says pick one, $25 for 1 day, $100 for more than 1 day, less than 1 week. So that's where I would say that's where that falls in it. But I'm only saying, since it's her property, it's her event, we're just charging a flat $100 for the license. So that's what I'm saying.
What's the total amount in your proposal?
It'd be $110
Okay.
with the application fee.
So we have a motion, we have support. Any further discussion?
I would just like to have it be continuous property for the permit. Which yours is, it's contiguous, the two pieces, as opposed to anywhere in town for the permit.
You're just approving this one event, though, for this one resolution with the minor change.
Well, or I'm just saying that if I'm happy with it going forward, as long as it's not, I've got 7 locations in town that I'm gonna put food trucks up around because I own them, and I'm gonna start renting out for all my different properties for one event.
So again, we have the motion. Is it my understanding this is just for a 1 year?
That's for 1 year, yes.
Okay. We read the motion again for everyone so we know what they're voting on.
To approve with stipulation that Bliss pay $100 above the $10 application fee for 1 year.
which would be the license fee.
If it's for 1 year, I'm fine with that.
So, any other questions? Roll call, please.
Kent.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
Hamel.
Aye.
Ostra.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Thank you. And thank you, Sarah and Jeff.
Mhm.
All right, item C, West Highway 18 D Street Culvert Project, replacement projects. Any comments there, Sam?
I do. So I'm a little bit at a disadvantage that Todd's unable to be here today, and he's the expert on this, but this was something that's big enough that we normally wouldn't have on consent. So, but it's, if you have any questions, I will try to answer it, but it is two different projects, that are going out for bid at the same time, and that's intentional because it is the hope that there'll be contractors that are interested in both projects and that will get better prices as a result. But they are two separate projects with two bid openings within half an hour of each other.
Okay.
So
Landon-
Sam,
go ahead,
yes,
Tom.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I saw that. Go ahead, Tom.
Sam, is it safe to say that the scope of the projects have not changed? This is just approving it to go out for bid?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Did I answer that right?
Landon, is there any comments you want to add?
Good evening, Landon Lake with Beck Engineering. Just a brief summary of both projects. I think Sam covered it for the most part, but the Highway 18 and D Street drainage improvements is stormwater and drainage improvements along Highway 18 between C and D Street, and continuing north along D Street, and then outletting through the existing drainage ditch under the recreational trail there between D and McKinley Avenue. It's about 2,000 feet of storm sewer installation. Most of the work is in DOT right away there, so we've coordinated that work with the DOT, have a permit for utility construction in right away. Got 40 working days assigned to the project with substantial completion of September 30 this year. The second project is two culvert crossings, one at Lyman Street, one at 16th Street. Replacing two failing culverts right now that are metal culverts, replacing them with reinforced concrete pipe. Both of those, or the Lyman Street one is limited to 15 working days, and the 16th Street one is limited to 10 working days. Final completion in September. The council action is just to approve plans and specs, set the bid opening for April 30th at 10 and 10:30, and then set the public hearing date.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Landon?
I have two questions. Just looking at this Wyman and South Fifth, will that be replaced with concrete as a final product, or will it be back to gravel?
That will be replaced with concrete. The intersection there is concrete today.
Okay.
And it will be concrete.
Okay, because I know that's in our area of a future development of the paved ground, and
Correct.
I'm just curious what it was, concrete. And then my second question is on Highway 18. I've seen here, and now I can't get back to it. You have traffic control devices. Is that just during the construction time, or is that from start to period for like a week, or is it just during the daytime construction hours?
Just during daytime construction hours for
Okay.
the work that will be conducted right there in the right of way.
Okay, because I see it looks like stop and go lights and that. So,
Yep.
okay.
So that will come down at night and both lanes will be open.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay. Then now we'd accept a motion to approve those plans and specs,
I'll make that motion to approve the plans and specs.
and also the bid openings. Can we do it all in one? Willing to do it all in one? The bid opening and the public hearing
Yeah,
dates?
that's fine. Do it all in one.
Okay.
I'll support that.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Eggers.
Aye.
Kent.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Ostra.
Aye.
Hamel.
Aye.
All right, emergency services, Chantel, you wanted to have a discussion about that?
Yeah, so on our strategic planning outcomes, we had conduct an analysis of emergency services, coverage areas, operational funding, facilities, equipment, and compensation, and create a long-range plan. So a few months ago, I sat down with all emergency service departments, representatives from each department, and we put together a list of things that are needed today, like right now, not even necessarily looking ahead. Some of it is looking ahead, but everybody's running out of space, and I think we just need to tackle this sooner rather than later, and we just kind of keep putting it on the back burner. And so I just wanted to bring it up and start a discussion on how we can potentially move forward with helping our emergency services with space as part of our strategic planning. So the list is attached. A couple of things that I need to note. I had a couple errors on there. So EMA, PD, and SCAT actually all have vehicles that sit outside and really should be inside. And then there is a dryer the dryer actually belongs to SCAT. It's stored at the fire department because SCAT doesn't even have a place that they can put it in their space. So I just would like to get going on looking at how we can move forward. One of the things that I think that we need to, well, two things I think we need to consider are we utilizing our community building to its full potential? I think that there's a lot of space that could be utilized better. This is a large building that doesn't get used all that often. And so could we possibly look at what it looks like to revamp some of the spaces? And another thing that I think we should consider is possibly land that the hospital has. There's a few different options for space at the hospital to potentially put up an ambulance garage, which would then leave the current space for EMA, fire, potentially the police department. So, and
When you say there's land available on hospital ground, is that land they're willing to donate or they're looking to sell?
it would be basically gifted to the city.
Okay. That sounds good.
Yep.
And I think, yeah, the whole idea of the basement, I don't remember the last time there's been an event down there that I've been to. It seems most of the stuff happens upstairs now, here.
Right.
Are there
And my understanding,
viable alternatives for that space down there?
right. Well, and there are, I know ambulance and fire have started kind of slowly moving into those spaces already.
Mhm.
So I think we just need to look at what it looks like to make those more usable so that it's not just space that they're filling, but that they could occupy in the correct way.
I think at one of the budget meetings one night, didn't we kind of give them the go-ahead to start thinking and looking and coming up with ideas?
Them being all
All the
emergency
emergency services.
It seems like a really big thing to wrap our arms around. I know pretty much everybody in this town is aware of the fact that Marv Van Riesen's done a lot of research on and talked to the hospital about the land, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe our best bet is to see what he's got in mind and then see how, if we were to move SCAT out to a different building, how that would then affect the rest of the departments. And talking to the fire department, but I think it's fair to say that you guys would support SCAT going to a different building and having some additional spaces that would provide on the surface. I mean, there's a lot of details there to come out, but
Yes.
it would have to be a multi-year, multi-project one thing at a time.
Yeah, and I think we as a council need to give those departments to go ahead to start looking,
Right.
to get ideas, see what this is going to cost, because we can talk and talk around here. They're the people that know what they need. You know, each department knows what they need. Eric knows what he needs for the police department. Kristen knows what she needs for the ambulance, and EMA and fire. So let's give them the green light to investigate this and move it to the next step. Not saying move to the next step, the building, but to get the council the information we need so we can make another decision. Because right now, all we're doing is circling the drain.
I would agree.
We're not getting off of it to move forward, and we need to move forward.
Wasn't that tried a couple of years ago and kind of went flat down? Ended in,
We did. But now, what's another plan to do? That plan didn't work. So now the ambulance has opportunity at Sanford to do something. So let's start talking instead of doing nothing.
that's what we're doing.
And I
So let's give the emergency services the green light to start looking and talking so they can bring back a recommendation for the council to move forward on.
But isn't that how the council got in trouble last time over the fire department wanting to go to the, so you've got to give some direction of saying, hey, you know, are we gonna have everybody come back and say, well, I'd like the new building and I'd like a new building and I'd like a new building, and which would all be fair responses, but we can't be building all new buildings. We got to give some direction, don't we, to how that's, so would we say the fire department, okay, if we SCAT moved out, what would you guys' proposal be? Or do we say, do you want a new building? And what are you suggesting there?
If it works for SCAT, we'll agree to look at the options, you know, here locally. You know, yes, we're willing to work with them. If they find a site, then we go to plan B. We might end up at plan C. We were on plan A didn't work. So now let's go to plan A or B or C. So we got to move forward.
Right. So I'm wondering if everyone would be in favor. I mean, if we have potential land available, could our first step be to look at what it would look like to evaluate the options for ground at Sanford, and then what it would look like to put up a building on those properties? Can we? Correct. Yes.
So, can I ask a question of Kristen,
Come forward,
if you don't
please.
mind?
Come to the mic, please.
Sorry, I knew I was going to bring you to the mic. I'm sorry, but so with this option that you've heard of and we've all heard of and whatnot, is SCAT feel that there's any viability to that option?
As long as, so yes, I mean, we do. As long as, like I said just a little bit ago, SCAT's needs are being met, not what people might portray that they think we need, but SCAT's needs are being met. We don't want a tin can box. We need our needs met.
So if the council gave SCAT direction to go ahead and put together a plan that would meet your needs at that location,
As long as that location would end up meeting the needs that we need.
which was just part of my statement,
Yes.
that you would, SCAT would be amiable to go ahead with that type of planning.
Correct.
Okay.
As long as, so like Chantel said, the properties, potential properties that have been offered, there's 2 or 3 of them, but the planning needs to be there to see if that would meet our needs, those sections. One, I don't foresee because of the way the highway is. But the second one, if we can work with Sanford on the lot or the lot size, or work with whoever we need to work with to make sure our needs are being met, then yes.
So I think the plan that I've been hearing about is the location of where the parking lot is right now, just west of the hospital,
That section.
along Highway 18.
Further north is the one that they had said.
that as responders respond might not be the best option for us. It might be the better option if they're willing to move forward closer to the highway because of the congestion the hospital creates.
So it's just on that same piece of property, whether it's south or north? Okay.
Well, and I think that's just like a further conversation we would need to have with Rick
Correct.
Nordahl and correct.
Okay. So with that, thank you for giving me direction on what you're thinking on that. So I don't have any other questions for you at this point. I would say that we do give both SCAT and fire and the police based upon that type of direction and let them work within their departments to see if they can get your needs met.
Well, and I think
With
as
the
department heads-
remaining space that SCAT will vacate.
And I do agree. And as department heads, I think we do work together really well and communicate what our needs were. We met with Chantel. We all know what our needs are. And I do agree. We will work together, and we have worked together to figure it out. Plan A didn't work, we gotta go to plan B.
And by doing so, we're off of A then, and we're on to B, which is something new. And we'll see where that takes us. And if, hopefully, it might be the right plan and we can start looking at costs involved with it, and then we decide if their plan C needs to be looked at. But at least I think it moves forward. It meets what Brad's talking about, certainly meets what Chantel's trying to get the council to do. So I'd be in favor of that, and that gives us some direction. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
The only thing I'm wondering about in all of this is it just the emergency services that are going to be doing each individual department working separately but together to come up with their needs and then present it? Or is there some type of a task force that would also include community members that could help create buy-in from the community as well and present a perspective perhaps different than what emergency services is offering or saying they want?
Well, I think at this time, if we ask the people to come forward right now, we really don't have anything to tell them about. We have to have some kind of concept to present. And then I'd say that might be the time to involve.
So
Right,
go ahead.
I just think now is more of like investigating what our options even are. And so like having another conversation with Rick Nordahl to look at the potential land, to sit down with Scott and Rick and say, okay, what can we make work here? I think that's just step one. And then if fire and PD and EMA can potentially take over this space, what does that look like? And so if they could come up with, some thoughts and ideas on what that looks like.
And I think the last time we did it, each department had their own group that focused on their building. And then we met at a regular basis and talked about it as a bigger group of the smaller committees of the departments. So we all kind of worked together to navigate it through. Would you say that would be correct, Kristen?
And now we do have council reps as part of emergency services too. So they could potentially be in on those conversations.
I would think that would be, a necessity. So we have this list. Is it fair to say each one of these individual departments takes these needs that they've listed and puts it into somewhat of a plan?
Or do we have to say, okay, is the hospital a viable initial option for SCAT that then we say to the rest of them, okay, here's where you would fit into this whole process, but we're kind of all spinning in.
I think to start, we need to meet with the hospital and find out.
Yeah, I think we
what
need
that-
to firm that
I
up,
think that needs to be step one, in my opinion.
because that's kind of the key
Right.
at this point, unless somebody else says.
Yeah, that's really
But
the,
then,
And
yeah,
the other side, we got to remember, we are not building for today.
Correct.
We also need to build for the future.
well, okay.
But that will all be encapsulated with each department's
Yes,
needs.
correct. Because you don't want to build something and move in today and be outgrown it. You know, if you want to build it for today, that's fine. But we need to look at the future.
Well, there's just the whole fine line of finances.
That's
And
correct
so
too.
that'll be the ultimate decision of what we can or can't do. Kristen, I appreciate everything you do. I want to warn you that we're using the word, we're not going to take a tin can, because I understand what you're saying, but that becomes very, we're not proposing you take a tin can.
No, but there have been proposals, something really small, you know, so I just want to make sure staff needs are met to help every other department needs be met. Yes, I understand what you're saying, but that's what I don't do understand.
But
We can't just have something like this, that's not going to meet our needs, but it's something new to give the other departments to face the same.
But if this meets your needs, then it may be a tin can in your eyes. I'm just saying that wants and needs become very sensitive to everybody, and we want to meet your needs, maybe not able to meet your wants.
all right.
Yep. So,
I think the next step is to sit down and get this hospital thing ground. If that's a viable alternative, an option for us, that kind of sets the stage for everything that else that would follow.
So who's going to negotiate? I mean, I don't think that the hospital and SCAT should be negotiating over land that the city is going to potentially take on. So that's the first question is, can the city of Sheldon and Sanford come to some kind of, we need to understand what they're offering for the land. Thoughts?
right, and that's where I think having our council reps for each department in on those meetings so that, you know, like if Kristen and I were to go meet with Rick Nordahl and just start those discussions, see if that's even an option, and then present it to council.
Or do we just invite Rick to come and talk to us about land options?
I think start the discussion on his turf.
Okay. I think we've all had that.
Right. Yeah. I think we just need to make sure that there is that option, like it's going to work for all parties involved.
And I think city employees, whether it's Sam or Todd and somebody, or both, all of them be involved in that as well, the three. Because they know the ins and outs a lot more so. So we have a framework. Do you have enough to go on to come up with some type of what I call it, a task force? You and I together?
You asking for I think the way I hear the discussion, it's more of an internal task force that's going to bring forward a public recommendation. And then at that point, the council could say, you know what, we'd like to do a version of what we did in 2021 and have hearings on this and have further discussion. And ultimately, there'll be costs. Right now, we're looking at the needs.
Right.
And not talking about the cost, which I think is a good way to start, is to look at the needs, and then that there will be that consideration, and that's where there ended up being the significant issues last time.
So can we just set something when how far are we going before we're going to report back to the council where we're at? I think that would just be helpful to kind of understand.
I think we sit down with the hospital to start and just find out if that is.
And whoever that is will report back to the council then?
Correct.
Perfect.
If I might make a suggestion, Is that okay?
Yeah.
I'd like to suggest that at least the preliminary update be provided to the council by May 20. And the reason I mention that date is because that's the date that we'll be having another discussion on tax increment financing post-legislative session, and that's a good time to have that conversation because you'll also be having pay plan discussions about that same time too. So just having a preliminary, a one-pager, if you will, just like today, if that's all you want to do, just an update.
Okay.
Perfect.
I think the two council members over there that are liaisons for the fire and ambulance, I think they and Kristen go get that dialogue started with Brick.
I'm happy to go meet with Rick, so whatever we need to do.
So for the sake of our minutes, I'm going to offer a consent that the council offers their consent to have both of the emergency service council liaisons move forward on initial discussions on property options for a off-site scat option for emergency services.
Okay.
And that they would report back to the council. So,
Do we have consensus on that?
I would say yes.
Pete?
yes.
Chantel?
You're just saying just the two of us, or can we have
You
Scott
guys
come with us?
pick whoever. I'm just giving consent to the council.
Have
Okay.
who come with you? Did you say?
Members from Scott, Jared and Kristen.
Then you're gonna have to give equal time to fire, not? Right?
Not at this point, I don't.
No?
I don't
Okay,
think so
No,
at this point.
just to discuss
Just to
the
start
property.
discuss the property and that.
okay. So, do we have consensus if those two go along, part of that meeting?
Sure.
Okay.
Good.
Jeff?
Yeah, us and whoever we decide to take with us, is that kind of the consent? I mean, if Sam or,
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, we have consensus then.
I'll add this to the May 20 agenda as a placeholder.
Thank you.
City manager's report.
I'll keep it brief. Landon, thank you for coming tonight. And would you mind giving us an update on Western Avenue? That's been an important project. There have been some hiccups, but overall, it's, now headed into a new phase. So if you could update us briefly since you're here.
Yeah, certainly. So work resumed on the 17th of March. And since then, there has been significant progress. I'll refer to it as Phase C, which is between 7th Street and 8th Street at the city shop there, continuing north to Highway 18. All of the underground utilities are in through that area, and they are now prepping the subgrade to prepare for with the weather and the forecast. We'll see what happens with the remainder of this week, but it's my hope, next week we'll see rock going down, pave the roadway, replacing driveway to sidewalks, things of that nature to wrap that up. So I have been impressed with the progress here this year, despite the hiccups and delays from last fall.
Okay. Any questions for Landon?
so how much concrete did we tear out?
Off the top of my head, I want to say around 450
Running feet or square feet?
running feet. 450 linear feet.
And how much do you feel we missed the deadline by because of that? Or what was the original completion date?
So there wasn't a completion date on that one, that being a DOT project. It's a late start date, they call it, with working dates applied to the project. Where they ended last year, forgive me, because I don't have these numbers, but 5-10 days beyond the total days allotted is where they had last year. This year, yeah.
Thank you.
What's the estimated new date?
For completion,
Mhm.
I don't have one.
Okay.
Something.
That'd be good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
No, it's just good to hear the words wrap this up.
Yeah, no, I agree for everyone's sake.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Landon. Report on job description updates.
Yeah, they're all linked. Normally, this is not the type of thing that's approved by the council, but because significant investment has been made in these, they're being brought forward so you can see them. They're not finished, but it's close to it. So I just wanted to put them all in one place so you could take a look at them. And
Given the hour, I would suggest if you have anything, you can comment to Sam individually. I don't want to take more time to do that anymore tonight. Oh. All right, then, council to my left, any comments from you?
Not this evening.
To my right? And I have nothing further, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I need
Support?
Thank you. Yep. Eric or Tom?
You don't want.
I didn't really want to hear from you either tonight.
Really quick, I would like to say that the SCP Development Committee and Board are working on finalizing a recommendation as part of the state development so that we can see some progress towards
Thank you, and I'm sorry. All right,
Now I'll make a motion to adjourn.
okay, thank you. Roll call, please.
Kent,
Aye.
Eggers,
Aye.
Hamel,
Aye.
Ostrov,
Aye.
Wagner.
Support.
I don't know which one is which.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.